Well, all right, everybody. We are back today for another episode here in the Madden 24 Worst Team Rebuilds. And we were the worst team this year, but during our reign, not before. Coming off a 1-16 year with the Niners in our second year with them. And it was an incredibly disappointing season, especially after going 9-8 in our first year, being one win away from the playoffs. And then just a major hit of regression for the entire team. Dead last in scoring, dead last in points allowed. In terms of points for, we were dead last by like 40 points, and points allowed dead last by about 16 or so. And a 9-game losing streak, by far the worst in the NFL by 5 games. So an incredibly surprising and disappointing season, but looking back, I should have just kind of seen this coming because Brock Purdy wasn't playing well before we took over. And he played well in the 1 year that we were here in our first year, but then this year he went back to what he was when Kyle Shanahan got fired from our same position. We also lost CMC as he's coming off pretty much the worst year in his career, so I don't blame the guy. But right now, the only bright spots on this team really are on the defense, and it's 2 players. James Allen, the superstar defensive tackle that won Defensive Rookie of the Year and had 5 sacks, 18 tackles for loss, a really strong rookie season. And then also rookie corner Julian Kilroy, who we took in the first round as well. He's also a superstar. Had 2 INTs, just below 50 tackles, 3 pass deflections. So just looking for some progression and growth for those 2 guys to really come into their own this next year or 2 on the defense. But on the offense and our lineup, I think the major holes that we have are, I think first we got to consider second or third receiver to play either above or right below Kerry Brennan. I definitely want to replace Perkins and Quinn on the left side of this offensive line. The right side's fine, but this left side needs to go. We lost CMC, so McCaffrey is gone, and we got to pretty much replace him as well. And then Brock Purdy, what do we do about him? I think we got to move on. I think he's proven over the course of these last 4 years that he's no longer the guy that he was. And on defense, they got to replace Trey Greenlaw as we did trade him at last year's trade deadline. I'm thinking about getting maybe a defensive tackle 2 or maybe a 1 to keep Allen at the 2, but he would still be a starter. And then on the corners, I would definitely want to get replacements for Lenoir and Taylor Britt because I do plan on treating those guys because I want to go younger. But don't forget that Antonio Fuller is a free agent right now, but we only have like $42 million in cap room or so, just below $42 million in cap room. And he's obviously maybe the best free agent you'll ever see. This is very rare for a quarterback of his caliber to be available here, but he is. And I would go for him if we could, but right now we can't because we still have Brock Purdy. And the only team right now that can even take him on is the Cowboys, but they have Justin Fields, and he's coming off a pretty solid year there, I'd say. So I figured that didn't make much sense for them to do. So instead, I was looking for offers for Chase Perkins, and these are all pretty good offers, but I think the best one that we're going to go for is one for a younger corner and add some more youth to our team and try and start to move on from the aging players already on the roster, because last year we lost all those games because we had so many aging veterans that had hit the wall and hit their regression marks. But I think I ended up taking this trade with the Jets to get Terrence Ford, a late 6th and a late 7th in this upcoming draft. So 2 draft picks plus a young corner who's at a 74 overall. And then in terms of Derek Quinn, we have Cam Baker as a backup left guard, and he's like a 76. So I felt like Quinn could easily be shipped out and wouldn't really need to be signed to be replaced. But the options here, Nick Ricard was my favorite option in terms of the trade. And he's currently the DT2 in Denver, but a good strength, nose tackle, good block shedding. So I figured with his playing time not going up these last 2 years, is going into his 4th year, why not make the trade for him and add some more depth to that defensive line? Then I traded Cam Taylor Britt for a 3rd round pick to Tennessee because corner was their top need. And then I sent Lenoir to the Bears for a 4th round pick this year and a 7th next year. So both corners gone, 4 straight trades, wheeling and dealing, big moves, but they've been made. We free up only $3 million in cap room, so we still can't sign Fuller. But Josh Allen's available, and there's also a guy right here as well, Xavier Norris, who I really want to target to get as our new number 1 corner to pair alongside Julian Kilroy. And then running back option potentially is Nick Henson, by far the highest rated running back here, but hasn't even put over 1,000 yards in his first 4 seasons. So how much do you trust that guy to be your go-to running back for more than 1 or 2 seasons even? For Norris here, we're going to offer him a contract, a 3-year deal. It is a high offer, and it is the highest right now over Washington, but I want it to be like significantly higher, and so there it is, a full bar higher than Washington. And then for other options at left tackle, I didn't see many good ones, and at right tackle, the only guy I saw that I like that fits our scheme right now is Clay Farr. And so, only allowing 3 sacks each of the last 2 years, I felt like he seems like a pretty reliable player and matches our scheme where Chase Perkins did not. So I made an offer to him for 2 years for about a $5 million cap hit each season. And then for the interior options for offensive line, no, I think that we probably can stick with Cameron Baker as our left guard, but there really weren't too many great options for legitimate upgrades in terms of the interior. So at this point, I was thinking to myself, well, we got Baker, we gave away Quinn, let's just stick with Baker as the starter for now. In terms of running back, as I said, Henson's the only good option here that is trustworthy. So I went to the draft instead. I wanted to see what options there were here. There were actually a couple, and I found 2 guys that I really liked. So I'll go through those real quick. The first guy here is Sean Buckner. Now he is a round 2 to 3 projection, but he looks like he's both powerful and quick and has a phenomenal profile in terms of the athleticism. So I thought he was a good option. And then potential late first rounder, mid first rounder, Anthony Newsome, round 1 to 2 projection. Looks like he is just a really good runner and also very well rounded, can have some power behind his legs too. So him and Buckner, my 2 top options for a running back here in this draft. Greenlaw is now a free agent. He was not re-signed to the team that we traded him to, but the options here I wasn't really liking either. And then at defensive tackle, you have Shaquille Franklin available. He's played 6 years, he's 83 overall, 27 years old, star development player, but 92 strength, 84 block shed. Another good run stopper. I figured, we have the cap room. He's coming off 2 straight years with good tackles for loss and sack numbers. Imagine pairing him with James Allen along the interior defensive line and then having Chambers and Middleton on the outside. That could be a really scary defensive line, plus Nick Ricard, who we just added, and Ahmad Money as 2 really good backup D tackles. That could be a really scary defensive front. In terms of receiver, I saw Cam Elam here, who has not really proven himself at all this franchise or his career really, but he's here. He's a scheme fit. He wants to play in LA, so I figured why not throw him like a 1-year contract offer and see what that gets us. We're gonna evaluate the offers here. Norris and Elam still considering offers, and now the Raiders are offering to Norris, but we do get Shaquille Franklin and Clay Farr. To save money, I'm going to a draw for Cam Elam because I want to give a bigger offer to Norris here to overpower the Raiders offer, and we do go above them. So we're going to evaluate, and we don't sign Xavier Norris. The Raiders got him instead. That is a key signing to miss here because now you're pretty much forcing yourself to go for a corner in the draft, essentially. Fuller ends up signing a 7-year contract with the Tennessee Titans to be their new franchise guy. And look at this contract, dude. The cap hit is insane. North of $70 million. It gets up towards $80 million there in 2034. So, huge contract there. The Dolphins signed Josh Allen. Greg Newsome to the Patriots. A.J. Brown to New Orleans. Marlon Humphrey signs with the Vikings. Evan Neal to the Colts. But the Dolphins already have Tua. So just like last season, I have to undo this signing again for Josh Allen. I don't know why the game just can't get this right, man. It's so frustrating because you'll see that it's going to happen like 8 times during the course of this offseason with Josh Allen alone. Trey Lance was the quarterback in Tennessee, but he wasn't playing well and couldn't really solidify himself as the true starter. So the signing for Tennessee makes sense to go after the best quarterback by far that's ever been available. But the Dolphins again signed Josh Allen, so I had to redo this one again. And then I saw Victor Weeks available, and I was like, okay, he's better than Josh Hatchett and Kerry Brennan rating-wise. His last years have been solid, over 900 yards apiece. Our last 2 signings haven't really panned out really in terms of receiver, but we have the money. We missed on Norris. Why not at least throw an offer out there and try and bring a playmaker in? Gonna have to increase it because there are a lot of teams in the running, 9 other teams besides us. But we're going to evaluate, and we do bring in Victor Weeks on a 3-year contract to be our new number 2. So big signing right there, but it's our 3rd straight year having a different number 2 receiver. And then the Texans signed Josh Allen, so I had to undo this one because they still have Stroud. It just makes no sense why they would even offer them. Mock Draft 4 has us taking McCutcheon first overall, which is possible. And then the first quarterback doesn't go until 15 with Warren Long, the Saints. And then after that, you have Spencer Faulkner going to the Jets at pick 21. So you probably want to go for a top 12-ish quarterback pick just to secure it. Newsome is going to go at 23 apparently, with the other running backs going later on. But Buckner is not even going here in the first round, so you could wait on Buckner for your first, second round pick if you do that. But then the Raiders signed Josh Allen. They have Malcolm Washington, who's an 85 overall quarterback coming off a really great stretch here in Oakland, or Las Vegas, excuse me. And I had to undo that one. Then they re-signed him again, and the next week, I had to undo that one again. So at this point, I'm just hoping that it's not going to happen, but this was the final straw. I could not undo this one because it's the final stage, the final week to sign players. So, yep, couldn't fix that. But now we got offers for Purdy after all these signings, because now teams have some cap room available, and his cap hit is much lower now than it was before. So we have plenty of offers, and my favorite one was this one from the Commanders for a young right tackle with star development, 24 years old. You get a 2 and a 3 in 3 drafts time, plus a couple of late round picks in this draft and a draft in a couple of seasons. The quarterback right now has the bridge quarterback tag, and he honestly hasn't played that well rating-wise. He's been below 100 his last 2 years, so you might just want to give up on Pagel and go for Brock Purdy. And I took the offer to get Ray Gilliard as another tackle to bring in, because part of this was that Aldridge, our current right tackle, has no motivation to re-sign with us. So he's going into a contract year, and he's not going to re-sign. So this is partly to get a left tackle, and also partly to replace the right tackle, because Clay Farr was also signed, don't forget. So we're going to have Farr at right tackle, and we're going to play Gilliard at left tackle because he's better suited for that position. In terms of the focus scouting, I wanted to use it on the quarterbacks just to confirm what Faulkner is, and then as well as on the running backs to see just how good are they, because if we're going to draft a running back early on, it's got to be somebody that we really know is going to be really good right out of the gate. So we do that. We find that Faulkner is a round 1 and 2 talent, so to me, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, this is the guy that I'm going for in this draft. Might not go first overall, but I'm definitely want to draft him in the first round. And then running back wise, Newsome is for sure a round 1 talent, so I feel comfortable going for him. Really well-rounded player. He's got elusiveness and power. Sean Buckner, same story. He's a better athlete, just not as fast, and has a bit more power, but just not as much speed as Newsome does. So these two guys, gotta see what I want to do between these two. Could just wait on Buckner in the second round though. But in terms of the holes now on our team, I am primarily thinking about quarterback, running back on the offense, and then on the defense, I'm thinking about corner, obviously, as well as right outside linebacker for the Dre Greenlove replacement. So those are the four main positions that I want to target here in the draft. And here we go. We obviously are the first team up, but we have a lot of offers for this first overall pick. And I figured if we're going to really throw ourselves into a rebuild like this and make all these trades and everything, then it wouldn't be too surprising to get a lot more top 100 picks over the next couple of drafts. The Vikings one really caught my eye because you get an extra second this year, plus you get a second in a year or two as well. The Commanders also offer, the Panthers want to offer this trade to go up by one spot, so this could be the move as well. And you get a third and fourth this year, plus a third next year. McCutcheon is still top of the board, and is a very good player, obviously, but I'm focusing here on quarterback, and I'm also thinking at this point that if I do a trade back, it won't be very far. It'll be just a handful of picks, because then you could still feasibly go after McCutcheon if he's there, because the Broncos have a good corner group, the Panthers have a good corner group, so I wouldn't expect them to draft one. The Vikings could, but they have three pretty solid players. So, because I was sure that the Panthers and Broncos wouldn't do it, and I was sure that the Vikings wouldn't either, I took their offer because I thought theirs was the best to draft this year and next year. And so, they're on the clock first overall, and they select Elijah McCutcheon. And this was when things went downhill fast, guys. This draft was not kind to me, especially in this first round. You'll see why. But RJ Charles goes second overall. Third pick goes Brian Bates. Now we're back up after essentially missing out on one of the best corners you'll ever see. With this pick, I figured I'm not going to trade back. I just want to get the guy that we know we want, and it's Spencer Faulkner. He's hidden dev, 91 throw power, pretty solid ratings athletic-wise, so happy with this pick. He's the franchise guy going forward. Now we're going to move through the rest of this first round to get to the middle part of the first round. Marco Bolden goes to the Colts. Glenn Hitchens to the Chargers. There goes the first receiver off the board to Chicago. Dolphins took a defensive tackle, or that was the Buccaneers. And then approaching the Cowboys pick, they will select Deontay Reynaud, who I talked about in our previous episode. Then I made a huge trade up. I gave up 6 picks, including 5 this year, to get this 15th overall pick because I wanted to take Anthony Newsome with this pick. But I gave up a second, third, fourth, sixth, and seventh this year after we acquired a lot of those with the Vikings trade. We give those up to move up in the draft to get this pick. And now we're going to be taking Anthony Newsome, the running back, round 1 talent for sure. Welcome to our team. 94 speed, but normal dev. And this was how I knew that this could be a mistake if he does not win Rookie of the Year, because he's probably only going to go up if he wins Rookie of the Year. So, screw me, right? Gonna move through the rest of this first round. So, we made our 2 picks. The Jets end up drafting Warren Long. So, we'll compare the 2 quarterbacks in the draft recap. Jeremy Fox is taken by Seattle despite them having Kenneth Walker. I just don't get that at all. It's the first round. The Falcons, same thing. They have Robinson, but they took Burke instead. And then top of the second round, we're back on the clock. I saw Henley here, but I saw a better option, I thought, in pass coverage with a different player. Leon Curtis. Pass coverage, A-zone coverage, B pursuit, B tackle. He has some power and the speed rush moves, but the skills aren't really there. But he's got decent play rec, A awareness. So I thought, why not draft him? He seems like he's really just well prepared to play. Normal dev though, again. And we missed out on that pick, but hopefully he's a high overall. At least to be able to start for this next year. But Buckner ends up being drafted by the Dolphins, so we obviously don't get him. We'll compare those two afterwards. And then now in the third round, I was thinking about tight end because we only have 2 on the roster as of right now. And Devin Russell was a normal dev, below 70 overall player, but George Ford is hitting dev. So I was really happy with this pick. 83 speed for a tight end is pretty solid, plus the acceleration's pretty nasty too. A short route with good run blocking. He can be a really well-rounded tight end to give us both good assistance in passing and good blocking in the run game. And our next pick here in the 4th round, I saw Sean Spriggs, and he's hitting dev, 91 speed. He had pretty well-rounded coverage skills, which I always covet those kinds of players. So I drafted him. And then Enrique Morrison, one of the fastest left ends in the draft, going to move into right end before the start of the year to play him behind Ezekiel Chambers as we take him here, and he is normal development, but probably has pretty solid finesse moves as a speed rusher. Then in the 5th round, I saw Lamar Colbert here, and he was a projected undrafted free agent, but I said, why not take a chance on him here? Because he's got the hit power, the play rec, the tackling, the zone coverage is not too bad, and the speed is there as well with 85 speed for a linebacker. That's pretty damn good. Normal dev, but I think he'll be a solid contributor for us off the bench behind Fred Warner. And then another defensive end here in the 6th round, I saw Delaren Lincoln, who's a power rusher, so he does fit the scheme at left end, and we take him. 83 strength, 77 speed. We take a punter here in our next pick in our later 6th round, and he is 95 kick power. And then Tyler Stevens, going to go kicker here in the 7th round, and he is hidden developments with 96 kick power. Did not expect that whatsoever, but he had really good accuracy with 8 kick accuracy, so hoping for him to be much better than Pat Phillips is. And then our last pick, I wanted to go with the 3rd quarterback, and so I saw Casper with the best accuracy rating, so I took him, and he's also hitting dev, 94 throw power. So a couple of solid picks to round out the draft here. A lot of draft picks here, and now it's time for the draft recap. And wow, we actually had a pretty solid first 5 picks, a really good draft overall, actually, I think, given the ratings and how many picks there were and how many were late round picks. Faulkner is a hidden dev quarterback, 73 overall as a scrambler archetype. Accuracy, especially short-wise, is pretty damn good. Throwing the run is also good. The awareness needs some work, but it's not terrible starting out. So happy with this pick. Thank God he was hidden dev. It's definitely a saving grace, but good speed as well. He can definitely move outside the pocket and run the ball too. Newsome, obviously not hidden dev, but he is a 78 overall with 94 speed. So this was a good pick, it ends up being. But once we see the players in the draft recap, it's going to be really disheartening. Leon Curtis was taken in the 2nd round, top of the 2nd. 74 zone coverage, normal development. I think he'll be a for sure starter, so we're going to move him to right outside linebacker immediately. And he is now the new Dre Greenlaw replacement. George Ford has a lot to work on, but the speed is there, the catching is there. Needs to work on the routes and everything else, but he will contribute and he will start thanks to his hidden dev and being, one of the only tight ends on the roster at like a 70 overall. Spriggs here is pretty solid. It was 73 zone or man coverage and 67 zone coverage. Thank God he's hidden dev. Morrison's got 71 finesse moves. So we'll see about him. Going to move him to right end once we enter preseason. And for Lamar Colbert, or Colbert, however you say it, he was actually a pretty good overall player. 69 overall, good tackling. I think he'll be a pretty solid player for us. Give it, 1 or 2 years, and he'll be a really solid backup for Fred Warner. Then Lincoln here has got 73 power moves, so has something there. 83 strength too, so he'll play off the bench behind Middleton. And then Parker Andrews, the new punter in town, 95 power, 73 accuracy. We'll see about him. Then Tyler Stevens, 80 kick accuracy, 96 power, but a 72 overall. We'll see what he does in the preseason because if he's hidden dev, he will probably be way better than Pat Phillips will. In Casper here, Needs to work on everything besides the throw power, but hidden dev there is a really good starting place. So overall, I think we hit on this draft. It was a really great draft class overall. There were a lot of great players. I think ours was one of the best ones. But look at the draft recap, man. We missed out on one of the greatest players of all time out of the draft. I can't believe I messed this up so horribly. He's an 88 overall. 98 speed. The coverage skills are fantastic. He's going to get like 8 picks a year with 95 catching. I made such a huge mistake. And then Buckner was the 3rd best player in the draft. 80 overall and hidden development. I could have just not traded up. I could have just waited. Misdrafted him. First pick of the 2nd. Could have waited for Patrick Henley as well, who was also a solid player in this draft. Warren Long was also better than Faulkner was in terms of the ratings. 78 overall, hidden developments. Missed out on that too. Other running backs were also very good. Pat Cunningham, 77 normal dev. Tremaine Burke, 77 hidden dev. And then Jeremy Fox, 77 normal dev. So we missed on several hidden dev running backs. We missed out on another corner, Abdul Winters here, who was taken by the Commanders. So also, the Lions took the full replacement Corey Bridge, who's a better overall than Faulkner is. The only saving grace for us right now is if Faulkner has X Factor and they don't. Then Patrick Henley was a hidden dev pass coverage linebacker. So, missed on that as well. I just feel like I got good players, but I didn't get the best players at each position when I could have. Like, I very easily could have. I had them on my board. I had them marked. I talked about them. And I still didn't draft them, and I missed out on some absolutely key acquisitions. We'll see if this draft class is going to make me forget about those miscues. But here's the roster right now. We got Gillard at left tackle with Baker, Carter, Phillips, and Farr to round out the offensive line. George Ford will start at tight end over Fairley and Devin Russell. Gonna have Ayuk, Victor Weeks, Brennan and Clay Henson as your top 4 receivers. So those are the guys that we're going to now with out Deebo Samuel. At quarterback, Spencer Faulkner backed up by Brandon Casper for some preseason reps. Newsome backed up by Keontae Carter on the offense, and that's the offense for you. On defense, you got Gordon Harrison and Hufanga returning as the safeties, both with superstar dev. Fred Warner as the middle linebacker, with Matthews and Leon Curtis on either side of him. And then in the secondary, we're going to have Kilroy as the number 1 with a very poor corner depth chart. I mean, we just don't have anybody here. We're relying on a lot of young players, including 2 draft picks from our last 2 seasons, plus the new pickup in Terrence Ford, with Ezekiel Chambers, Franklin, Allen, and Middleton all on this defensive line. The defensive line should be the best part of this defense, with Ricard and Moni also being backups to them. So we have a deep defensive line. We have a kicker battle going on as well. We have a new punter. I'm going to have Weeks return the kicks and punts now. He's a 94 overall in that regard. Newsome will be the main back overall. And there you go. There's your roster. There's your depth chart. There's your team. There's your moves. A lot of big ones. Made a lot of big trades. Got rid of Brock Purdy. Pretty much just put a full reset into full drive here. So that's it. And to round out, here's the schedule going into our 3rd season. Hoping just for some bright spots for the young players. Not going to expect us to be any good this year, but at least a couple of wins with a couple of good performances is all I'm really hoping for here. So we'll see. But that was a very interesting offseason. We'll see if it pays off next time, guys. I'll see you guys there. Peace out.